So yeah, here's another dog food feeder, guys. We've got it's a bigger piece of plywood on the front of here, or wafer board. And I just measured that hole. It is 10 inches wide and 18 inches tall. You see the hole there. Now I'm not sure, this hole's a little shorter to the ground than some of them. Let's see, I don't know if I can do this where you can see it. So that's about 19 inches. Now, it's a little shorter to the ground. You may get some goats try to jump in and out of there. I haven't seen any into this one. We've got a bunch of yearlings out here with this, where this dog food feeder is. But they'll sometimes jump in there, and if you make that hole, you can make it skinny, because you'd be surprised how thin a dog can, that hole's kind of thin, that dog can wiggle through there and get in and out. Now here's what we've done. Maybe you can see down here for your pups. Now your pups can get in and out of here pretty easy through the big squares there, till that pup's pretty good size. And then we cut the end off of one of those metal rods going through there and bent it up. You can see that. And that was for a pup that we were training to go in and out of the dog food feeder. Okay. And we've had times that you have to put maybe some cement blocks in front of the feeder so they can climb up on and jump in it or out of it. Usually if you take a dog and put him in the feeder, either through the hole or unwire the side, let him in to eat. If you can't catch him, just let him in to eat and then close it back up on him. And they'll find a way out. And you keep doing that and they'll finally figure out that, hey, there's a hole there that I can jump in, I can eat anytime I want to. We've had some dogs that, well, they weren't very quick learners, but they usually caught on. So this is, we've got these out in every pasture. Some pastures we might have 2 of them, depending on if we've got I don't know, more than 4 dogs, and you're going to go once a week, you probably need 2 feeders. One feeder won't feed them all for a week, sometimes of the year. You'll find they'll eat more different times. They won't eat as much if they're eating a lot of afterbirth, and you're kidding. But there's a lot of times that they'll eat. About 3 to 4 dogs would eat that feeder full of dog food a week. Generally, rule of thumb. Now this feeder's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares wide. You see that? It's 8 squares by 8 squares, and those are, I think, 6 by 6 squares. So let's say it's 6 foot square. It should probably be at least that. 6 foot, a dog can comfortably jump in there. He doesn't feel trapped, and you'll have a lot better luck, your dog, learning to go in and out of there if your pen's a little bit bigger. If you try to take one panel and make 3 sides, 16-foot panel, it's really too small. There you're getting 5 foot by 5 foot, and I'd prefer to make them bigger than that. We might have some that's that small, but really at least 6 foot. And then we go to moving them, and we'll move them as we move the sheep or goats, and you'll just unwire one side and you'll fold it up kind of like an accordion and flop it on the back of a pickup or a trailer, if you got a little trailer pulling with a 4-wheeler or something, and we'll go to the next one. Now you might have seen some people may have fixed up where their dog could crawl through the bottom underneath the dog food feeder. That works for sheep. Sheep will be fine with that, but goats are going to crawl under there too. They just will. And sheep won't. You can put that hole down pretty low for sheep. If I was going to train the dog, I would flip that front over where that hole's closer to the ground if I was in a sheep pasture, because sheep will very seldom crawl in that hole. If they ever did figure it out, they'd all go in there, of course. But if you could train them where they're sheep, and then you flip that over where it's low, and small dog go in and out, then you can flip it back up where he has to jump, and you know, he's already kind of trained to it. Nice afternoon here, Grandview Livestock. Yeah, this dog had pups here about a week ago. January 10th, I think she had these pups. She's an Akbash dog. I sold this dog to a guy, and then he called me one time after a couple of years. He said, "Hey, would you take this dog back? I'm getting out of the sheep and goat business, and I want to travel and do some things, and don't want to be tied down with livestock." And so we took her, and had another dog of mine breed her. These pups, they could have a little Anatolian in them. She's mostly Akbash, and the father would be a mostly Akbash dog, but he's probably got some Anatolian in him. I think there's 5 of these pups. We'll keep track of them here. We're not going to keep all of them. We'll need to keep, I don't know, 1 or 2 probably. You just have to keep your dog power up. You know, it's not unusual. We'll lose 1 or 2 dogs a year, old age, or maybe we just don't even know what happens to them. And we go out one day, we've got a place where we had 2 dogs or 3 dogs, and now we've only got 2 dogs there, and we don't have a clue what happened. It wasn't a particularly older dog. There's an older dog there, and he's still there. Those things just happen, and so you always need to have dogs coming on, because you know, these little pups are 1 to 2 years away from being good guardian dogs, even putting them with other dogs. You know, if you've got more than 1 dog, you can have they'll be okay, you know, when they're a year old. But if they're out there by themselves, I wouldn't really call them a guardian until they're 2. And they're kind of a pain to raise. Sometimes they'll play with a kid or a lamb, and you'll think they're going to kill it, and they might. I wouldn't put it past them, just playfully. And sometimes I've had you hang something off their neck if they get too rough with them. I mean, you know, when they're about half grown and going through that teenage stage, people have called me and had problems with them biting the legs of a goat or playing around with them. And you know, sometimes you got to chain a 2x4 around their collar there and let it hang down between their legs, kind of crossways, where it might bang and bump them in the front shins if they go chasing something too much, or let them drag a piece of a chain or something tied to an old tire. The problem with doing that is they can't jump in and out of the dog food feeder if you're going to feed them that way. You'll have to have them close to home where you can pay attention to them, and you should anyway. A younger dog. Yeah, I just don't trust them where I'm kidding at. I like to have those dogs here at home so I can keep an eye on them and know what's going on with them. She's turned out to be a real good mom. She started with 5 pups and still has 5, and they're really growing. She goes in and out of that dog food feeder there I was just showing you. And here's another, he's a middle-aged dog, I'd call him, probably 4 years old. You know, when you got 20, 25 dogs, you don't have names for all of them, and we just got very, very few dogs with names. I just sort of know we've got him out here. These are, well, some of those kids that were a little small, we didn't want to take them to the sale. We're going to feed them on up because, well, if you notice, the lighter weight ones at the sale, you know, probably brought $100 a head less. And so we can feed them for a lot less than that, and just the key is that is everything is just keeping them alive. But so far so good. And we're and that dog, we're just feeding him by hand. We let these kids in here, and they come in here and they eat some grain, and then we just feed that dog when he comes in here. We don't have to have a dog food feeder in here. But he's happy and content out there with them. This is Greg Christensen. Hey, hope you like a little bit of a dog info here and how to feed your dogs. You know, if you like these videos, I've had quite a few subscribers lately. Well, tell somebody and hit the subscribe button. It's always interesting. I've got a lot more people watch these than I ever thought I would, and it's not that many compared to some, but I appreciate it, guys. Keep in touch.